My older brother, a 30-year-old male, pursued higher education and later worked as an accountant in the city. Meanwhile, I, a 27-year-old male, started working for my dad as a plumber at the age of 15. I attended college to obtain qualifications in plumbing and gas. Around the time the pandemic began, my brother moved back from the city and joined my dad, who was 55 years old at the time, in our family plumbing business. Unfortunately, my dad's health had deteriorated due to asbestosis, rendering him unable to work effectively. Despite his declining health, he continued to work alongside me on Fridays, even though I had taken over the business operations for the past 2 years. During the pandemic, we faced challenges initially, but we managed to bounce back. We expanded our business, now operating 50 vans, each with 1 qualified and 1 trainee plumber. However, last month, my dad announced his decision to step down from the business due to his health. To my dismay, he handed over the business to my brother and asked me to relinquish my role as the acting CEO. This decision deeply upset me, especially considering my long-standing dedication to the business. In the beginning, it was just my dad and me, as my brother had no interest in joining the family business, dismissing it as unworthy of his time. Now he was suddenly the boss, despite lacking knowledge of our trade. I confronted my dad about his choice, but he justified it by pointing out my brother's family responsibilities and university education. Many of our employees were also unhappy with this decision, expressing their intention to leave if I did. Faced with this situation, I decided to leave the family business and start my own. Despite the hurtful messages and criticisms I received, I expressed gratitude to those who supported me. My plan was to reach out to our large clients, hoping to take over projects that had been postponed due to the pandemic. I also had the support of 20 colleagues willing to work with me. With my savings from the past 12 years, I believed I had enough to start my own business and stand on my own feet. Despite the challenges, I was determined to make my new venture successful, although I couldn't help feeling guilty about competing with my family. You shouldn't have to endure this injustice. They not only took the business away from you, but also from all the loyal employees who don't want to work under an inexperienced CEO. It's not just about you, Hall. It's about everyone affected by this decision. Your father could have split the business 50-50, with your brother handling the accounting side and you managing production. I would suggest offering this solution to your father. If he refuses, I would advise cutting all contact and blocking relatives. In your shoes, I would start my own business and never look back. Your brother turned his back on the family business while you poured your heart and soul into building it. Honestly, I thought your brother's return would unite us all into one big family company. It's heartbreaking that your father allowed this to happen, especially the significant pay cut you had to endure. This clearly shows how he values you compared to your brother. I am truly sorry for what you're going through. I hope you find the strength to run your brother's business out of the market. Thank you for your support. The most difficult part is that my brother agreed to the pay cut. I was still earning a decent wage, but it felt like a betrayal. I'd always believed my father would divide the business between us, not leave me on the sidelines after everything I did to build it. Now for an update. I want to make it clear that I don't intend to start a business with the purpose of destroying my brother. Despite my anger, I've invested almost 13 years in this business, and I don't want to see anyone lose their job or witness the downfall of the company. It's currently 5 a.m. in England, and your support has been invaluable. I plan to talk to my father around 8 a.m. I'll take him out for breakfast to have an honest conversation. I'm not sure if I'll get the answers I seek, but I love my family and want my future kids to know them. I'll update you all after today's events. Second update. As I mentioned in one of the comments, I believe my family has found my post, and they confirmed it this morning when I arrived at my parents' house. My mom greeted me with tear-streaked eyes, and my dad and I went out for breakfast to talk. He didn't utter a word during the drive there. Upon our arrival, and then again on the way back, he asked if we could pull over to talk. It was the first time I had ever seen my dad cry. When I confronted him, asking why he had done this to me, He confessed he didn't know. I pressed him, and he finally revealed that he felt he owed it to my brother for not being there for him as much as he was for me during our upbringing. There were moments my brother needed him, but we were always working. I couldn't fathom it. After 12 years of relentless dedication, this was his justification. I told my father that I had invested half my life working for the business, and now he was sidelining me just because my brother had returned. It hurt me in ways I couldn't express. To my surprise, he wasn't angry when he discovered the post I had shared. Instead, he seemed remorseful. He admitted that my mother was devastated after reading the comments about how badly they had treated me. She believed I would never talk to them again. My dad acknowledged that he should have split the business between us, realizing that it would require both of us to keep progressing. He apologized for never expressing how proud he was of everything I had achieved. He understood my brother would never agree to a 50-50 arrangement. He pleaded for me to return, saying my brother would need me, but I replied that it was no longer my concern. I tried to make it work for 3 weeks after my demotion and pay cut, but my brother refused to listen, dismissing my expertise, so I left. My dad broke down, confessing that he had torn the family apart and regretted what he had done. I couldn't fathom why it took him so long to realize my value in the company. In the third update, I had several successful Zoom calls with clients, and they informed me they would be sending proposals for upcoming work. Fortunately, the start dates didn't clash, a concern that had weighed heavily on my mind. 3 of my experienced colleagues had left my previous workplace and chose to join me voluntarily, an affirmation that touched me deeply. At this point, I had everything I needed to start my new business, 3 vans, and the tools I had amassed over the years. Then, my father called and invited me over for dinner. Uncertain but hopeful, I accepted, thinking it might be a step in the right direction. When I arrived, my entire family was present. The atmosphere was tense. My mother avoided eye contact, and my brother acted as if I didn't exist. My dad asked both my brother and me to join him in his office. He began questioning when I would return to the company, stating that they needed me back early Monday morning. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. I told them both that I wouldn't be returning, that I had started my own business. I questioned my brother, asking what he meant by we, considering he was the one who had been given the business. My brother lost his temper, demanding to know why I would leave if I truly cared about the company. I didn't hold back, expressing my frustration. I reminded him that I had dedicated 12 years of my life to make the company successful, just like him. Unlike him, I didn't seek all the glory, and I wouldn't allow myself to be treated poorly. I told him to leave so I could talk to Dad. I confronted my father, asking him about his apology earlier in the day and why he expected me to return despite everything. He couldn't meet my gaze. I said my goodbyes to my cousins, nieces, and nephews and walked out. I spent about 3 hours writing, finding solace before returning here to share my thoughts. I want to express my gratitude to everyone for the personal messages, comments, rewards, and all the encouraging words. I'll try to respond to everyone, but I'm exhausted and will likely fall asleep. In the 4th update, it's been a while since I last shared. I've had a lot going on in the past few weeks. The new business is thriving. We have plenty of work and are making good money. At the year's end, I plan to expand, and I couldn't be happier about that. My fiancé and I are overjoyed. She's busy planning our dream wedding, although she wants me to wear a suit. I insist on my kilt. Waking up next to her every day brings me immense happiness. She's been my rock through everything. Regarding my family, my father and brother still refuse to talk to me. They declared they won't attend our wedding, even though they haven't been invited. My mother contacts my fiancé, asking about wedding details but won't talk to me. On the brighter side, my fiancé's family has been incredible, helping with the lawsuits, assisting with wedding preparations, and much more. I am deeply thankful for their support. Other members of my family have backed off, apologized, and expressed a desire to make amends for the hurtful things that were said. My fiancé and I have decided to have our wedding in November. After we're married, we plan to try for children. We're both excited about becoming parents. The next story revolves around my business and the decision not to split control equally between my children. I'm a 65-year-old electrician from Germany, looking forward to settling down, traveling with my wife, and spoiling our grandchildren for the rest of our lives. I have built up a small business with 23 employees. My son, Alexander, who is 36 years old, will take control of it. I also have two daughters whom I am proud of. Laura, 34, has a master's degree in biochemistry, and Marie, 30, is a middle school teacher in mathematics and sports. Recently, I shared my plan of family gathering. Laura was supportive, but Marie accused me of favoritism, which I denied. I explained that Alexander had worked with me for 17 years, starting as a trainee and eventually earning his master's license as an electrician. He has demonstrated passion, dedication, and leadership, training 7 of our employees along the way. My daughters were offered opportunities to work with me during school holidays, but they pursued their own careers, which my wife and I supported financially and emotionally. I sought opinions on Reddit, asking if I was in the wrong. Most responses were in favor of my decision to leave the business to Alexander. People pointed out that hard work should be rewarded, emphasizing that he had invested his time and energy in the business and had helped make it successful. They agreed that leaving the business to him was a way to ensure stability for our employees and their families. Additionally, they acknowledged that it was my business and my money, and I had the right to decide who should inherit it. German law might have different views, but the consensus was that my choice was justifiable. In this situation, it's crucial for your uncle and cousins to consult a lawyer, as there might be legal costs involved in compensating his other children when he decides to pass the company to only one child. It's not being in a hole, it's just practical business sense. Marie may lack experience in this industry or running a business, which makes your son, Alexander, the most qualified candidate, given his 17 years of dedicated work with you. Marie's bitterness appears to stem more from Alexander's close relationship with you than from the handover of the business. It's worth considering that both Marie and Alexander had equal opportunities. They could have chosen to pursue a career as an electrician, but only Alexander followed through. It's unfair for Marie to resent the situation based on her own choices. As for your last story, about your inheritance, you're not the a-hole for not splitting your inheritance equally with your cousins. Your paternal grandmas will specify the distribution of her money among her grandchildren, not anticipating the number of children your dad and uncle would have. Your parents are right in asserting that it's your money, and you should be the one to decide how to handle it after gaining access to it. The accusations of selfishness are unwarranted, especially considering the unique circumstances that led to the uneven distribution. Your upbringing and your parents' financial decisions are entirely unrelated to the situation at hand. I had to buy my own car, while my cousins had theirs bought for them by their parents. My dad's aunt constantly fueled my uncle's belief that my dad was the favorite child, which left my uncle resentful. He now uses the fact that I'm receiving more money to support that idea. I refuse to split the money because it's rightfully mine. The inheritance was meant for the children of my dad, and it's not my fault that my parents had only one child. My parents taught me financial responsibility, and I plan to put most of the money into a lifetime ISA. I intend to use some of it to travel after university and invest the rest wisely. I'm not planning on squandering it all in one go. Furthermore, Connor and Olivia's shares are substantial, far more than most people inherit and more than many have access to in their early 20s. Connor has already spent most of his inheritance on partying, traveling, and cars, so I don't see why I should have to compensate for his choices. Regarding the messages I've received, I want to clarify that my grandma did not exclude my dad and uncle. She only left the money from her various bank accounts to the grandchildren. Her other assets, such as property, jewelry, art collection, and investments, were divided between them. To those who say I'm being selfish, I firmly believe that my decision aligns with my grandma's wishes. Imagine if the roles were reversed. Would they willingly share their inheritance? I don't think so. This is a fair, but not equal, situation. My grandmother was fair by splitting the money 50-50 between her son's descendants. It's their entitlement and not a matter of greed. Anyone questioning it can express their concerns at her grave.